Oh, looks like one person showed up. Hi, how you doing? I'm still organizing myself here. No, I don't need those. That's not part of this discussion. Okay. I'm not even sure what I'm all going to talk about. I've got some ideas. I got 3 things written down that I'm going to talk about. We'll see once a few more people show up. I'm still adjusting my table here. I gotta. Ooh, that's too far. That's better. That's better. Okay, 2 people are here. This is going to be I've got a few ideas what I'm going to discuss, but if you've got any questions whatsoever relating to anything about knives, just put them in the comments there and let me know what you want to talk about. There was a few questions that came up on the previous live stream that I didn't get into, and so I'll probably start with those. I don't have a big plan or anything. No, just sort of a general knife discussion, guys. One person asked me about tip up versus tip down. I don't really get into that all that terribly much because it's hard to find knives that have both tip up and tip down. And so my main comment on that is if your knife only has tip up or only has tip down, if you like the knife, then I guess you're just going to have to like the knife the way it is. But what do I think about tip up versus tip down? There's pros and cons to both. I generally choose tip up. That's what this guy is. So the tip is up towards the pocket clip, goes into your pocket. Let me just grab my pocket. Got a mess here. There's my pocket. So tip up, I like it because I find it easy to take out and deploy the blade. But that being said, I did a test. I didn't remember it when I did my last live stream last Friday. This very knife and a couple other knives that I don't have anymore, I did a week-long test where I carried them tip up one day, tip down the next day, tip up and back and forth for 7 or 8 days. Deployment time for me was negligibly different. Like it really wasn't any different. So the people that say, well, I can deploy my knife quicker this way. Well, okay, if you can, then that's the way you want to carry it that way. But somebody who's quite, and I don't want this to sound like I'm bragging, but somebody who is quite familiar with knives and has carried knives for many decades, I didn't find there to be a real difference in terms of how quickly I can deploy the knife from the pocket. So I measured the time from the time I reached for my knife till I had it in my hand ready to use. Yeah, it's about the same. It really is. Afternoon, where are you, Jay, that it's afternoon already? Oh, well, you could be, well, I guess in Eastern time, it's just after 12 now, isn't it? Thank you, Naked Beekeeper. So I really didn't find it any different. Toronto, yes. I lived in Toronto for, what was it, 9, 10 months. My very first job after I got out of high school. I grew up in a small town southeast of London and moved to the big city. Yeah, I didn't like it. I was in North York area. Didn't like it so much. Just, I'm not a big city boy. Hi, David. How are you doing today? So what I was talking about this, I didn't find there to be any difference. What do you guys think? Tip up versus tip down. Does it make any difference in terms of how quickly you can get it out of your pocket and have it ready to use? Me, I didn't. The next question is it safer to carry a knife tip up or tip down in your pocket? I like doing tip up because if you can see my pocket here, it goes into my pocket. The blade is now next to this big seam, and where my hand would go in the rest of the pocket is next to the spine. So even if I had a defective knife, Oh, I should also state, I put it right back here, right close to the thing. So if the blade's gonna open up in my pocket, that's a big if, then the chances are very high that when my hand goes in, it'll be safe on this side. So that doesn't seem to bother me. But the fact is, if you've got a knife that where the blade opens up easily in your pocket, get a different knife. It's just not worth the risk. It just really is not worth it. AJ, right now I'm in a little town called Olds. It's in Alberta, about an hour north of Calgary, an hour's drive. So yeah, if you've got a knife that opens too easily, because I know some people who've had knives and they've had it this way in their pocket, and their knife was partly deployed in the pocket, and they reached in, and yeah, that's I just about felt it right there just talking about it. That is scary. So if you've got a knife that you know opens up too easily, yeah, just don't do it. But tip up versus tip down, I think that's just a 100% personal preference. Now, what I do find on a lot of knives like this is sort of a very deep homage to Spyderco's Paramilitary 2. Pocket clips on the tip down mode tend to ride deeper in your pocket than their tip ups because they got their lanyard holes and stuff. At least Spyderco does that. I've seen that on a lot of different companies. If you've got a knife that goes both ways, like this guy, and by the way, this guy is on sale for what, $11 right now? I still think it's a piece of junk, but if you're looking for a piece of junk knife, and sometimes you want one, because you want one that's, if you lose it, no problem, or if you loan it out to somebody and they wreck it, no problem. $11 for this thing. It won't hold an edge very long, but this guy is available at Canadian Tire right now for $11. Go look for it in the hand tool section, not in the knife cabinet. They don't have these, their maximum knives in the knife cabinet. It's by the tools, by the screwdrivers and stuff like that. Anyhow, this guy's got tip up and tip down, and it ships with it in tip down mode. And again, that clip is closer to the end of the knife than this one is. That's very common. So if you've got a preference for how deep it's carrying, yeah, do that. But that's about it. Now I had another comment. Let's look at my notes here. Somebody asked about ease of sharpening, and now I forget exactly what they said. What did they say? Choose a knife based on ease of sharpening. Now, I hear a lot of stuff about, I still hear a lot of stuff about how D2 is just scary hard to sharpen. I don't think it is. I think D2 is fairly straightforward to sharpen. Does it take more effort than, something like this? This is what, 12C27, I think. It doesn't say on there. I think these Sandra Muse 710s are all 12C27. Some of them are 8CR13, I think. That's a little bit softer, a little bit easier to sharpen than D2 like this Ganzo is. But I just don't find it to be that hard because we've got nice modern stones these days. Like, how do you guys sharpen? What kind of stones do you have when you sharpen? I use mostly the Veneve stones. I didn't bring any over here. So it's a diamond impregnated stone. It's got a thick layer. It's probably a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch thick, about 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters thick, of a compound that has diamond impregnated in it. Not compound, it's like a resin. And so those stones with diamond, they just sharpen so much more easily than anything else. Now there's a lot of different diamond options out there. Just don't buy the really, really cheap stuff. If it costs too little to, make you think twice about buying it, it's probably too cheap of stuff. I spend probably more money on stones than I do on knives. Like a knife like this, what is this, $30 roughly? I forget, 32? Yeah, but a stone, if you get a really good stone like a Veneve stone, you can do a search on my channel for Veneve and you'll find those stones, Venev. They're very expensive these days because they come out of Russia. And ever since Russia started that war with Ukraine and the tariffs added 40% to your costs, it's just nuts. But good quality stones make the sharpening go faster. The other rule of thumb is the easier it is to sharpen, the easier it is to make it dull. So you have to play that game. How hard of a edge do you want? How durable of an edge do you want? How, the retention and stuff. You just have to play that. Yeah, this sheepfoot, I did this review. Which model number is this? This is the FH924. And I just like Ganzo. See, they even do a little spacer right there on the offside wire clip. I've got another small one like this. I think it's an axis lock. I haven't reviewed it yet, but slightly different blade shape, more of a drop point blade shape, so more of a rounded belly, but basically the same size. It's a fairly small knife, but not tiny. Yeah. So, yeah, there's no comments about sharpening. The other question somebody asked me about that I didn't answer, and it was ease of flicking deployment. Now, they didn't expand on what that question was. And basically that amounts to, I think what they're asking is how strong of a detent. Let me get some other knives here for you guys to look at. There, here's a Kubi. What's the name of this guy again? Yeah, I draw blanks on names. Names just don't last in my head very long. So this knife has got an end flipper. So the ease of flipping has almost exclusively to do with the detent. Logan asked, what's your opinion on sharpening stones on Temu for $16 versus the stones I can buy in Canada for $60? Why such a big gap? Well, because I don't know which two stones you're talking about, which one's in Canada. Anything on Temu for 16 bucks, I would avoid. I would just avoid it because it's going to be junk. Now, in Canada, you can find junk for 60 bucks as well. So I'd need to know exactly which $60 stones you're looking at in Canada. So why is there such a big gap? One big part of it is from China. I don't know this as a fact, but it makes complete sense to me because I buy stuff on AliExpress. I've never bought stuff on Temu, but you can buy a $3 item and get free shipping. Like, how do they do that? They have to be getting some, like, they can't be paying for shipping, at least not any reasonable shipping. And so I think they get subsidized a lot. I think the Chinese government really wants the world to get 100% dependent on them for consumer goods. Because, if you control what stuff buy, you control what you got a lot of control over that country. So yeah, no, any stone that's 16 bucks, I just have a feeling I'd avoid it. So Frank, you're asking a question. The reason I'm saying your name is because I'm reading the questions out loud, so when this video can be played back on a later date, people know what I'm asking. So I've been collecting for 20 years, Frank says, not at sharpening, but I have all the tools. If I practiced each day, how long would it take to become an expert at it? I don't know. Are you naturally adept to learning skills? Like if you had to start doing something else new for the first time, do you learn those kinds of things quickly or not? If yes, then you get quicker at it. The other thing is, how are you sharpening? Are you sharpening with a guided sharpening system? Like I have on the background behind me, I'll grab one right here. So here's a TS Prof sharpening rig. I'd have to zoom out again, don't I? Oops, that's in. Something like this where you can clamp down the knife and hold it in a certain spot, and then you can keep the angle the same all the time. That wouldn't take very long to perfect. Maybe I shouldn't say perfect. Wouldn't take long to become, very competent. I'm thinking if you sharpened one knife a day, you know, by the end of a couple weeks, you'd be doing just fine. Now, you don't want to be sharpening your knives an awful lot, so maybe go to a thrift store and buy some junk knives, but that's going to change your sharpening experience because soft steel sharpens differently than hard steel. So you also have to, get experience sharpening different types of steel, different, like very high, hard carbon steel versus, a fairly soft, stainless steel. It makes a difference. And if you don't have diamond stones, then the type of stone, like what the stone's made of, some stones work better on stainless steel than on carbon steel. So yeah, you do have to get a fair bit of experience, but to get decent on it, like you asked about expert, expert takes a while. To get decent on it, I think 20 knives, sharpening 20 knives in a shorter time span so that you sort of remember what you're doing. Shouldn't be too long, shouldn't be too bad. My Kaiser tie October. I don't know that knife. Let me see. I'll look it up right here. Kaiser. I shouldn't be doing this through the screen. I can't see. Yes, 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 just go. Come on. Yeah, it's an older phone. Takes a while. Okay, yeah, go away. That's not what I want to hear. Let's do it this way. Go to Kaiser Knives. Oh, yeah, there's a similar look there. We've got a little bit longer of a handle. Nice fuller there. Discontinued. Maybe they were inspired by that. I don't know. Interesting. I'm not familiar with that knife, although I'm very familiar with Kaiser. Yeah, it has a lot of the same kind of look. Yeah. You should only use diamond stones up to 1200 grit. I use diamond all the way down to 1 micron. I'm not sure what the grit number is. And grit all depends on how you're measuring grit. Grit is so variable, like there's like 36 different ways. So anything that says 1200 is that F1200, is that G1200, is that, all kinds of different brands, and their 1200 is totally different. So yeah, 20 CV, yeah, that Kaiser discontinued. Maybe I should look for somebody who's trying to get rid of theirs now or whatever. If in doubt, get Jake to sharpen your knives. Yeah, I'll sharpen your knives. Officially, I'm no longer in the sharpening business as a business, but anybody who's a knife guy is a friend, and so I'll sharpen knives for friends. It's just, shipping is just crazy these days to ship knives. Pocket knives, you can always just take them apart, take the blade out, and just send me the blade. And that's probably cheaper to send. I mean, anything 1200 or under, use diamond. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what you meant. Yeah, Mikey, I tend to use diamond for almost everything. It's the only thing I don't use it for is if I have somebody who wants me to sharpen one of their knives and it's a really soft steel. Then I just tend to use, a carbide stone, not a carbide, by Boride company, the T4 series. Yeah. And because, yeah, diamond, I guess I could use a finer stone. That's what I tend to do. I tend to use, those other stones for the really soft steel. Worksharp Precision Elite is easy to use. Yes, it is, Jay. It's a decent machine. If you're good at it, keep using it. I try not to tell people that there is one right way to sharpen knives because I don't believe that. There's loads of different ways. There's loads of different equipment you can use. I used to do all whetstone sharpening until my hands got too sore with You can't see an awful lot of arthritis in there, but you can see a little bit. And I found hand sharpening just got my hands too sore and too tired too quickly, and that's when I switched to guided sharpening system. But I've used TS Prof, I've used Hapstone, I've used Work Sharp, I've used, KME, I've used Wicked Edge. I've used almost all of them, at least a little bit. And they've all got benefits, pros and cons. Use what you like, use what works for you. But as far as the stones themselves, I really do like those Veneve or Veneve stones. Yeah, this is an exclusive. This is the 7710, and then it got known as the 7010. And when this one came out, if I can get the light right, after they went to 7010. And I was going to talk about, and I did start it, didn't I? Ease of flicking deployment. That has mostly to do with detent. Now, I've done a whole video series, and I keep mentioning it every once in a while because I keep getting detent questions. I've got a 3-part series, a playlist on how to fix detent issues, and it speaks mostly about frame locks and liner lock knives. Now, we use the term detent for, an axis lock knife or a crossbar lock. Oops, that's not one of them. Where was I reaching? Do I have any with me over here? I don't even have one right here. People use the word detent for other locks. This is a button lock. They use the word detent for this as well. It's about how easily it comes out. But that video series is all about the old school detents on frame locks and liner locks. And so I was going to show that. Let me take this apart. Oh, that's the wrong size. These are T6 here. And this is, they got those flush head screws. I don't like T6, but these ones are fairly deep. It's not a big problem. Let's take this apart here. Come on, open up. There we go. So it has everything to do with this lock arm, same on a liner lock. It's how much pressure that's pushing over. And you see that little ball right there. That ball sits in the hole on the blade. And the more pressure there is of, that ball in that hole, the harder it is to deploy the blade. And so there could be a number of different issues about that. But the thing is, the way I want to flick out a blade, how much pressure I want to exert on the thumb stud or the flipper or whatever, or the hole, could be different than what you want. Like, some people want it to be really easy. Some people want to, be able to just shake the knife and the blade comes out. Now that's too easy. That's going to lead to the problem I started off with at the very beginning of this video, talking about tip up and tip down and the blades opening in your pocket. And then you put your hand through there and you slice up your fingers. So that's kind of scary to me. You want it to be fairly hard to take out. Now, what's fair to you? It might not be fair to me, like I said, but I don't want this blade to ever easily come open in my pocket. And so the detent, one of the main rules of that is to hold it closed. When you want it to be closed, it's going to stay closed. And how much pressure do you want to push on that thing with your finger before the blade comes flying out? I tend to say I like mine medium hard, but I guess probably everybody would say that because if it was too soft, they don't like it. If it's too hard, they don't like it. But my medium and your medium, boy, I could go on and on about that for a long time. But go around in circles for a long time about that. But the main thing here is this is a spring, right? And the spring tension's right in there. Now, I can adjust it by bending it further. It's risky. It's risky to do that because it's steel, and steel gets fatigued and it'll crack. And if your knife breaks right there, be it a liner lock or a frame lock like this, your knife is garbage. It's totally useless. It'll never stay closed. It'll never stay open because that's the whole locking mechanism. So you don't want too much tension pushing over. That makes it too hard. And you don't want too little tension pushing over. But that's how you adjust it. Just make very tiny adjustments, not too much pressure when you change it. So what I tend to do is I sort of measure. You can just use anything. Just put something along, this, put a little mark, and then do a little adjustment if you want more tension. And if it's moved over anything over the line, hey, that's far enough. Put it back together, test it again. See if you like that. And if not, you can do a little bit more, because if you do too much, then you have to adjust it too much back, and you're going to crack that. And then, yeah, your knife's no good anymore. Other problems can be detent balls. I don't have any videos about replacing those balls. I've seen some guys have some of those videos. I got budget knives for the most part. It's just not that big a deal to me. If I buy a knife and I think there's a problem with that, I just get rid of it. But another thing I show in that video is if your ball stands too proud, sticks out too far or further than you like, but it's still fairly secure, you can do a tiny adjustment and take the edge off of that hole. Again, very, very, very tiny adjustments, because you'll be surprised how little steel you got to take off before you've taken off too much. So yeah, I think I prefer stronger detent than average, kind of like Mikey there. I just don't want that risk of it opening up in my hand, in my pocket. Also, where I live in Canada, we can't carry knives for the purpose of self-defense. Don't ever tell a cop that you've got a knife for self-defense, even if you're thinking that, it's defending against coyotes. Maybe you live out in the country somewhere. They're going to misinterpret what you say. And because we're not allowed to do that. Now it's a weapon, and it's an illegal weapon, and you're in trouble. Or you could be. It all depends on the cop, of course. So I don't need a knife that I can deploy in a hurry. The other thing in Canada is, if I've got a knife in my pocket and I get into a fight, even if I don't take the knife out of my pocket, I could be charged with a weapons crime. Yeah, welcome to Canada. Is it necessary to lube the detent hole, etc.? That's been a debate for a while. A lot of guys do. I have occasionally done that. I just generally don't. There's one exception. There's one exception to what I do. This one here, this has got a steel detent ball. On ceramic balls, I really don't see the need, but sometimes, I don't have any knives right here, but it'll squeak when you're moving the blade. And that squeak can, like if it's not all the way closed, not all the way open, if it's squeaking in the middle here, that's a 99% chance that that squeak is the detent ball rubbing on the side. You can see that arc path right where my thumb is. The arc goes along there. So it rubs and it pushes on there. And so it's most likely that. And then I prefer to use more of a heavier, instead of a light oil for that, I prefer to use a heavy oil or even a very light grease. And usually takes care of that. Not always, but yeah, so it's not necessary. I would only do it, like I said, if I heard a squeak. So that was from Knife Guy 5. Thanks for the question. I prefer to do these live streams without too much of an agenda, so I really like when you guys ask questions. So let's see, we've gone for almost half an hour here. I don't have anything else that I wrote down on my notes. Any other questions? Are you guys still looking for Christmas gifts? Do you need to buy something for somebody? It might be a little late for shipping if you got to ship from small companies. I was thinking about my skiff tools, this finger bit, or some of their ball bearings and stuff. I got lots of ball bearings, or their thick washers. So I've got a coupon code for that. but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I could look it up on my phone. Let's see. Where is it? Where's my search button? There it is. Okay, it just opens up everything. Come on, I was looking for skiff. Oh, here, hit content first. I think it's just CCE for my code. See, it's still not coming up. There it is. And where did they've changed how this looks from the last time I looked? Move away. CCE 10 should work. Whoops, CCE 10 or skiffmadeblades.com/. I'll put this link down below once this video goes into the rewatch, when you can rewatch it. But if you look at CCE 10 should work, get 10% off those. So do you like live streaming? I find it a bit stressful, to be honest with you. But a lot of people like it, I think. Some people have told me they like it. I like that I can answer questions right away. In a comment, sometimes I can't, if I don't understand the question correctly and I leave a response, and if I didn't ask the question just right, the person might just not respond again, or I might not see them responding again. And so then, it just sort of dies off. But on a live stream like this, if I get it wrong, like you guys have done already, I misunderstood, that comment about the stones, the 1200 grit, they just respond again and it clarifies it, and we keep going. We can have a more intelligent conversation on a live stream, I think, than another way. So I kind of like doing it for, a little bit more engagement. It gives more, it makes me a little more human. And you get to see I'm a little less expert than some of you think I am. I don't call myself an expert. I'm a knife nut. I like knives. I know a fair bit about knives, but I wouldn't call myself an expert per se, because expert it's a term that's way overused, in my opinion, these days. Is it possible to replace Teflon pivot washers with bearings? It's the thickness tolerance that's the problem. Yeah, it's the thickness. But you can replace the Teflon pivot washers with phosphor bronze washers. Might be hard to find them, but you can. And it's all about the tolerances. So on this knife, ew, that's dirty. I'm gonna have to clean this off. We got a black, probably Teflon washer. It might be a nylon. And then we've got this super thin, you can't even see it on edge, super thin phosphor bronze washer, and one of those on each side. So if you can find those super thin ones, you could probably add that on without changing the tolerances too much and just sort of add it in. But you really want to match the overall thickness of the washers if you replace them with another type of washer. And ball bearings is just really, really hard to find them that thin. On the other side, some guys want to go back to washers. So they've got a knife like this, and it's got ball bearings in it. And so they need fairly thick washers, and you don't want to stack up a whole bunch of washers. Like one or two like this, maybe, but you don't want to stack up a whole bunch. But this guy at Skiff Works, or Skiff Makes Blades, they make solid phosphor bronze washers that you can get for a lot of different sizes. Why would somebody want that over ball bearings? Mostly guys that do a lot of outdoor stuff, because ball bearings can get, especially outdoor stuff in a dusty environment, you can get all kinds of dust and grit and stuff into your ball bearings, and it just causes it not to work all that well. And so a lot of guys like washers better. So, that guy also makes washers. But yeah, those nylon ones, like this thing's got these cheap white nylon washers. Now for 10 bucks, 11 bucks for this knife, who cares? But I've had some nicer knives back in the day, especially 15 years ago or so. You could get knives that cost a bit of money and they still have those plastic, nylon, or whatever material they're using back then, those washers. And I like to replace those with phosphor bronze. Now, where can you find those washers? I've been mostly getting mine from AliExpress. Yeah. Just one heads up. If you do shop on places like Temu or AliExpress or any of those Chinese retail stores, maybe any store at all, get yourself a free email address from some company, even Gmail or something, that you only use for that kind of shopping. Not the same email address that you use for your banking, certainly not for anything to do with government, nothing financial, your credit card, an email address that you only use for that stuff. That way, if you start getting spam, it's so easy to tell it's spam because it's to that address that you only use for that kind of shopping. So just a suggestion. Yeah, it's a little bit more work, but you really don't want to give away your email address to companies that are quite likely to resell it. Does anyone sell folding knife parts online? Washers, springs, ceramic bearings? Yes. Well, one thing, washers and bearings, these guys, they make them in the United States. I think they're, what state are they in? I was going to say New Hampshire, no, but that's where White Mountain Knives is. I forget what state they're in. But there's knife supply stores. Now, what's the name of it? I'll look it up. Discard. No, that's not what I want to do. Just go over here. Knife. Especially in the United States. I just don't remember the name. USAKnifemaker.com. They got a number of different categories for parts of knives. There's not that much in Canada, but there are some Canadian knife stores. So just looking at here, they got some washers here. You got some clips that you fold yourself, and some stuff is pretty decently priced. Bushings, they'll have all kinds of stuff. This is just sort of the first little bit. They've got categories. Let me see what they got. Abrasives, adhesives, blade blanks, books, buffing supplies, cases, knife makers really. But they got a lot of those parts that you might want. So it's not just a professional knife maker could use that. Let's see if there's any other ones. Let's go back. Knife maker, knife kits. That's knife maker again. Jant Supply, I've shopped there sometimes. They got knife making parts, and so that's washers and stuff. Not sure what else there is, and I forget what the Canadian was. I haven't been able to find much in Canada at all. Knifemaker.ca. Yeah, I did. I forgot about them. I've shopped there before. Let me see. So steel, polishing stuff. Do they have washers? See, not much. Stainless steel finishing washers. That's for outside. That's not for the actual washers. So, like I said, in Canada, it's just hard to find. I mostly use Knife Maker USA for that kind of stuff. Any fixed blades? I don't have any handy in this video. I'm going to be doing another fixed blade review soon. I do probably 10, maybe 15% of the videos I do are fixed blades, but you need a bigger question there, No Love. Are you asking about fixed blades for any type of purpose, or are you just wondering what kind of fixed blades I have? Yeah, my pleasure, Knife Guy. anytime I can help. You guys can always email me as well. I might not respond super quickly, but CanadianCuttingEdge@gmail.com. You can email me anytime. I just had one guy phone me yesterday, just before supper time. He had questions about his sharpening system because it wasn't working the way he wanted it to work, and he knows I've got the same one. And so he was, asked me some questions, and so I just went over that kind of stuff and helped him out. I let him know what I thought the problem was and how he could fix it. And we talked again this morning, and he thinks he's got it licked. We'll see. So any other questions or comments? Any of you guys gotten into, since we've got a question about fixed blades, carrying fixed blades in your pocket? So that's the pocket carry fixed blades for EDC. I've played with it a little bit. I haven't done much of it. I'm in my little spot where I record my videos here downstairs. I've got all my knives and stuff upstairs. And so it would take me a while to walk over there and go get some to show you. So sorry that I didn't bring any with me down here. But I could show you, the kind of knives that, I have. But I didn't do that. So maybe I'll do that for next time. How many of you guys want a discussion on fixed blades? A little demo, maybe I'll show off some of my fixed blade knives. I know I've been asked before, and I think it was Logan that asked me to show off all the knives that I kept. Those of you guys who know me know that I sell almost all the knives I review, like the vast, vast majority. And, that's because I'm on a disability pension, and so I need to sell them so I can get cash flow in to be able to buy some more. So I do that. And so I don't have an awful lot, but I do have a bunch of fixed knife videos. I do have one knife right here. I'm just going to make a video about this. I don't do a lot of kitchen videos, but I was going to do a video about this because I've been sharpening knives for one of the local restaurants in town. And I asked him if he'd test this knife for me, tell me what he thought of it. And so I'll be talking about that in that video. But yeah, if you're looking for a kitchen knife, I really do like the Two Sun fixed blade knives that you can get at White Mountain Knives. They just do a really good job. They're almost all 14C28N steel, and they're quite thin at the edge. This specific model, I'd probably not suggest. It's probably the cheapest one they've got. And the main issue is it had a very crisp edge up here on the spine. And so quite annoying, easy to file off. You just take a nice little file or even not too coarse, a medium coarse sharpening stone, and just run it across the edge here a little bit, because a lot of people, they cut like this, they put their hand up there. I don't like the look of this. I'm thinking after I've done my review of this, I'm going to make my own custom wooden handle for this. So we'll see. Hey, thank you, Logan. I appreciate that you stopped by and take a look and listen. I chose this time. I chose to start around 10 a.m. Mountain Time on Fridays, because that's when most of my views happen. Like if I look through my analytics, and I can even show you on here, wake up. And there's the studio. I don't know if it'll actually show it on here. I usually use my PC for this, not... oh yeah, there it is. If you take a look at that, where it's the lightest pink, that's when I've got my most views. And so Friday around 10 a.m. is when I get a lot of views. Now Monday would also be pretty good. Of course, Saturday and Sunday is when I get most of my views, but I try to keep my weekend for family stuff. I'm really lucky today. My wife is off work. There's no school today, so she's off work, but she's gone to get a massage, so I can still do this without taking time away from being with her. What's up, Bandit? What you thumping for? That's my dog, Bandit. Oh, you probably want, some of you guys want to see him. All right, I'm gonna move my camera here. Hopefully I don't drop it. There he is. Bandit, look this way. They want to see your cute face. Bandit. There you are. Yeah, how's it going, buddy? He likes to sit there when I'm doing videos. Oh, I got my Skivworks Disciple double edge yesterday. Nice, nice. I'll have to remind myself what those look like. Hi, Colt. Welcome to the show. Well, it's not really a show, but it's just a chat time. I'm going to put this back together. By the way, I've got probably 5 of these left, 4 of these left. Not, this one, the just sort of all steel version of 710. So if somebody's looking for one, I'd be happy to sell them. I was initially thinking I bought, do I have one of those here, or is it all upstairs? Like it's all steel with just a little bit of a logo back here. I was hoping to find a nice laser engraver and get them to laser engrave my CCE logo, but that never worked out. It was just too expensive. And now that my insurance company for my disability refuses to let me earn even a single penny outside of the insurance that they give me, or I have to pay it all back, I'm not trying to make money anymore. But I will sell my personal knives. Don't tell them that's all my knives. They're all my personal knives. I know, this is going to be recorded. They'll never see it. And if they do, I'll pay the piper when it happens. Come on, get in there. Oh, that's the wrong screw. That's why. See, I make mistakes too. What's your favorite locking mechanism on folding knives? That's a really good question. I am quite fond of the good old liner lock. Like it's nothing fancy. It's nothing crazy. It's something I understand completely. I know how to make adjustments to it. I was talking before about fixing detent issues. It's quite easy to do on liner lock knives. I'm not one of these guys who is into the hype of, I need the strongest locking knife. Why would you need the strongest lock? Well, you wouldn't. You just need one strong enough for what you're doing. But if you want bragging rights to have the strongest, and there's nothing wrong with bragging rights, well, then you want the strongest one. So good for you. Get the strongest one. No, I've got nothing against that at all. I just am not into that. I just want something that's going to work good enough for what I need. If I need a knife where I need the strongest lock, then I'm going to carry a fixed blade. It's really that simple and straightforward. So yeah, I don't have a favorite, but I do have probably 50% of my knives, maybe more than 50% of my folding knives are, ooh, that's too tight, are frame lock knives, liner lock knives. I don't like frame lock an awful lot. Mostly, I have to clean, I've got to take that back apart and clean up. Where's my frame lock knife? Do I have one here? I thought I had one here. Where do I have it? And I was going to show you. This is a frame lock knife right here. Oh, come on, Jake. This one's not that big of an issue because of the way this pocket clip is right here. But a lot of frame lock knives, when I'm holding them, especially my left hand, and I grew up left-handed, it's kind of uncomfortable on the index finger. And sometimes in the right hand, depending on what I'm doing, especially if I'm carving and doing a little bit of a twisting motion, this finger might sort of pull on that lock a little bit. And you don't want to pull on that lock because that's disengaging the lock. And that very rarely happens. It can happen on liner lock knives too, but it's super rare, to, at least in my experience, for that to happen on a liner lock knife when I'm doing that kind of twisty carving. To see if I can replicate it. There you go. So I'm just taking this finger and I'm just squeezing and pulling back, but I have to do it very intentionally, and I have to push down on my thumb right there to get it to do it, which isn't a very common way of me using it, because when you're doing this, at least when I'm doing it, doing a carving motion, my thumb is putting pressure here, not up there, and that sort of helps. I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my butt, but I just don't find it happens anywhere near as commonly on liner locks as it does on frame locks. I like button lock knives, except for getting them across the border into Canada. You know, the border services people have decided button lock knives shouldn't be allowed into the country, at least not when consumers buy them. You know, you can buy them at Canadian knife stores, but if I buy them from a store in the States and ship it over, they like to confiscate button locks. They call them gravity knives, and I can sort of understand that to a point, because you can hold them in a very specific way and then press the button lock. There you go, and then the blade opens. And it's not a gravity knife like I just tip it over and it comes out. But yeah, that's what they think, so that's hard to get. Button locks in the budget price range also, you can get problems with lock stick. So, you know, just a little bit, but they tend to wear in pretty quick. Like this guy, actually, this is the QSP Unicorn. We had a little bit of lock stick when it was brand new. I carried it for how many days? It was less than a week when I made it my main knife, and it's just doesn't stick at all. Really nice. Okay, and Chuckles 740S asks, Spyderco Silver Axe has a weak detent. If I tighten, it stops. The fun factor. Any way to improve both? Yes, I talked about it earlier in this video, and I can talk about it briefly again, but first I've got a video series. Now you can take a look on my channel, look for how to fix detent issues or fix detent problems, because I got a 3-part video series. It's long. It's about an hour worth of instruction on how to fix detent issues. Basically, you want that lock arm. Let me put this one away, use this one. So this lock arm, most detent issues, the most common detent issue is there's not enough pressure on that lock arm pushing over. More pressure of this pushing over, this spring tension, the stronger the detent is. Usually, there can be a variety of other issues. So basically what you want to do is change that spring tension. I just put this back together again, and I've got that video series on. You have to take the knife apart to do this. Either a liner lock knife or a frame lock knife, they're basically identical in terms of how to adjust the detent. And you basically have to bend this spring so that it pushes harder. You just have to be very, very finessey about that. Just make a super tiny adjustment, reassemble the thing, test it, and see how you like it. And if it's not enough, do more. Because if you do too many adjustments, it'll break the knife right there, and then your knife's garbage, 100% useless. So getting the detent the way you like it, that will fix your fun factor. It depends on how easy you want that fun flip to be. I don't know if you mean fun flip is that it's you can just hold the knife and give it a little shake and it flicks open. If that's what you mean, no, it's going to work anti that. It's going to make it harder for you just to, you know, do a wrist flick and have the blade come out. But that kind of flick, once you get it dialed in so that it's just the perfect amount of pressure, yeah, that's pretty fidget friendly in my books. Bollywood Diaries. Hello, hello. Who is live today? The Canadian Cutting Edge. Yep. Thanks for loving my videos. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. And thanks for leaving a comment, even on this video. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, this one I'm going to have to totally redo this. This is, I think it's full of gunk in there. I've carried it for too long before I've cleaned it. Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to find if you do that search for it. If you can't find it, just email me, canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com, and I'll send you a link. And we can have conversations. I don't mind helping people out. I might not be super timely, like it might take a day before I respond to an email, especially on weekends. It might be a couple days, especially during the holidays now. But yeah, I'm happy to help people out with any questions they have about knives. Cool knives. Yeah, I got a few. I don't have very many right here. What kind of knives are you into, Yano buys? What's your style of knife? I tend not to ask people what their favorite knife is because I don't have a favorite. I like pretty much any knife. My general response is my favorite knife is the one I've got in my hand at the moment or in my pocket. That's my favorite knife. Because I just about like them all. The only, I shouldn't say only, oh, go away. Getting a spam call on my phone. The type of knife I don't like probably at all are fantasy display knives. I can't be bothered. Fantasy display knives is just not in my taste. Some guys love them, and that's totally fine. I'm just not that guy. Not at all. Old Cappy, yeah, nice. I do like old school slip joint knives. I don't know if that's it's not my favorite category, but I've been looking for them lately. They're hard to find around here where I live. We don't have a lot of like flea markets and stuff. We don't have a lot of those things. Once a year, we've got a gun show in town, and there's probably a quarter, maybe even up to a third of the display tables that come out are guys with knives. And so then some of them have old used slip joint knives. But yeah. What's the live for? It's just how to fix blade centering issue in frame locks. I didn't say anything about blade centering issues at all yet. Blade centering issues are really tricky. Now, blade centering 10 years ago, I don't know about most, many knives that I got had blade centering issues. These days, you get a new knife, and is this one off center? Well, very slightly, but it's not anywhere near close to rubbing on anything. And they're just naturally fairly well centered. Like the quality's just gone up so much. But if you do need to center a blade, you basically have to do some tricks that can be counterproductive to your pivot. Now, the main thing that I've done in the past when I really like the knife, but it's rubbing on the side, I loosen up the body screws. I'll show you right here. Maybe I can make this one do it as well. And then I loosen up the pivot. So now that everything's loose, right, you can move the blade any way you want. And so what I do is, if I wanted it to, actually, let's go that way. If I wanted it to go that way, I open the blade a little bit, put my thumb on it, and my fingers are wrapped on this side, and I push over. And then, while I'm pushing over, and it's kind of hard to do in front of the camera right here, now I'm tightening up these body screws at the back. Oops, I wasn't pushing over hard enough. It's kind of hard to do at the same time. Let's do it this way. I'll use my fingers on this side, my thumb on that side. And then tighten that up. If you need to, put some painter's tape on your blade first, if you're not familiar with doing this kind of thing, because you don't want to slip and cut your finger. And once you've done that, you can either keep holding it, keep putting pressure on it, but you don't really need to. Then tighten up that a little bit. And as you can see, it's a little more off center to that side. The problem with doing that is now the washers have uneven pressure on them. So let's do this. I'll show you what I mean. And you're not going to get as good action. It might be very close. And if you got a really high quality lubricant, that helps as well. But washers isn't that bad of an issue, but ball bearings, what you're doing is your ball bearings are going to wear unevenly, and I've shown this on a number of knives. Let's see if I can, probably can't see it on this, especially with this camera. What I'm looking for is that little wear line. Yeah, it's really hard to see. The wear line that goes around where the ball bearings roll. If you've taken knives apart and looked at the liners, sometimes you see a deep wear in one side, and then the other side doesn't have much wear at all. Now, if you've got a blade centering issue, you take the knife apart and look and see that you've got a deep gouge on one side, not the other, you're probably not going to have success at changing that. If they're even and it's nice and you've got a nice clean line, evenly wore on both sides, you know, on both liners, that one and this one, then you can do this adjustment that I talked about, and it's okay. This is the Anthony asks, it's the Ganzo FH924. I think the other one, I've got a 923 that's got more of a drop point blade and a button lock, but very much the same size. I haven't reviewed it yet. I don't have it downstairs. But yeah, this is like 32 bucks. I think I got it at White Mountain Knives. Now I can't remember the store. I think he might be going out of business anyways. But White Mountain Knives, or you can get them online. You know, just do a search for that. If you're in the United States, you can probably find it on Amazon.com. Not here in Canada, though. So what I was talking about with that, alignment to me is only an issue if I've got rubbing. Yeah, I got to clean this guy. If I've got the blade rubbing on the liners when I close it, I want to avoid that. Other than that, a little bit misalignment, I don't really mind. And most new knives don't have misalignment. And if I buy a new knife that's got misalignment, you know, if it's bad enough that it's rubbing, you know, take it back or just sell it on. Like if you really don't like it, just because doing this kind of adjustment will wear out. Your liners are the softest steel on your knife, and it's going to wear out your liners. And once they've wore unevenly, it's just going to make that worse and worse. So, sorry I don't have a better answer for you, Bollywood. Some bayonets. I've never owned a bayonet. I don't even have guns. I know that sounds odd. I've done some hunting and stuff in my day, but I've always borrowed, guns and stuff. Never done shotguns. I've shot them, of course, but I've never gone hunting, shotgun hunting. So yeah, bayonets are kind of cool. I was just thinking about something sort of off related. I've never gotten into swords either. I do have a couple like these budget carry swords, especially I got a couple cane swords that I have, which is weird. You're allowed to have those in Canada as long as the blade is over 30 centimeters long. If it's under 30 centimeters long, you can get in trouble. Weird Canadian laws. So I've got a couple cane swords, just cheap ones. One's a cold steel, one's not. I forget what the other one is. Just a cheap one. But I've never had bayonets. I'm sure if you're into swords, check out Scala Gladiatoria. I think that's how you say it. It's a guy in the UK. Great channel. I watch a lot of his stuff. I asked that question last time. What do you guys watch other than knife stuff on YouTube? My most recent job, I was in tech support, and I've worked for Nokia, I've worked for Dell, I've worked for the local school board. I did computers and network support for the school board. I'm just going to see what comes up here. See if I can find. Oh, come on. I can't see it there. I'm still looking for it. I forget what the guy's channel name is. Cyber CPU, I think it is. Let me look for it. Yeah, there it is. Cyber CPU Tech. Where's his channel name? There it is right there. Cyber Focus. Come on, camera, focus. If you want straightforward, easy to follow advice on your computers, Cyber CPU Tech is the way to go. What do you guys watch? Okay, your name's Solomon. Nice to know your name. I work with movies, so I create a channel with its name, but I lost interest on my YouTube channel. Yeah, that happens a lot. YouTube isn't as easy as a lot of people think, and it's not necessarily as fun as a lot of people think. There's a lot of junk that happens when you're a YouTuber, from the hate stuff that you get, just people trying to make fun of you and stuff. That kind of, yeah, I don't like that stuff. And it's work. Like, it's hard work doing YouTube. I like hunting and fishing videos. I used to watch, back in the day when I still watched TV, before the streaming days, because, back then you only had TV. I watched a lot of fishing shows. There weren't that many hunting shows back then. There's much more now. There's more variety. I used to watch fishing a lot, and I don't know why. I like fishing, but watching fishing just made me want to go fishing. Okay, let's see. We've been on for just over an hour. I'll leave it open for some more questions if you've got any more questions coming up. Other than that, I'll try to be back. Now, I don't know if I'll be back next Friday or not. Let me just check my calendar. Let me see here. That's December. Next Friday is the 20th. I'll probably be back on the 20th. My family, I've got 4 kids, 4 grown kids, grandkids and stuff. And all my kids are married. And so what we do is we make arrangements with those families that my kids will go to their spouses one Christmas on Christmas Day or whatever day their family decides to do it for a family gathering. And then we'll do it in January, the alternate years. This is our alternate year. So in January, first week of January, we're doing our Christmas get together. So I've got time over Christmas, except for I don't, because my wedding anniversary is on December 30th. And my wife and I are going to go to Jasper National Park. And we're going to spend 3 or 4 days up there right at the end of the year and come back on New Year's Eve. Oh, well, good. At least you're having some success, Solomon, with your stuff. If you try to make money on YouTube, yeah, you need a pretty big channel, and you need to get really good sponsors before you start making any serious money. I'm really close to 5 million views right now. So 5 million views, that's all the views on all my videos. I've got like 1,750 videos or so, roughly like that, 1,750, is it that? It's 1,700 something videos out. So they don't get an awful lot of views per video. And when I did have monetization enabled, I was making like $50 a month. So less than $2 Canadian a day. So, just over $1 US a day. Yeah. Isaac asks if I've got switchblades. I've got no switchblades whatsoever. I don't even have any assisted knives right now. In Canada, they're illegal to start with, so they're harder to get here. And I just, I just don't have any. I've not gotten into them, but I do see their value. Like my sister lives in, well, I was going to say Nebraska. They've moved to Missouri. My sister lives in Missouri, and she's just a little thing. And so I've suggested to her to get an out the front automatic. But switchblades tend to mean ones that come out, this way instead of out the front. But basically by pressing a button and they come out. So no, I don't have any switchblades. I don't even have any other automatics of any kind. I've done some videos of some, or just one. Do I have a video of just one? But I did that while I was visiting in the United States. I borrowed it, and they're fun to play with. I like them, especially out the fronts. Click, 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 and the blades coming in and out. I like that. Okay, Solomon now asks, I think I show build over the top OTT service app or a website, Bollywood movies, because I have a bunch of old movies licensed lying around in my office. I've never gotten into Bollywood. I don't know enough about Bollywood, but Bollywood movies sound like they are fun. Like the little bit that I know about them is they look like they're mostly joyous. Is that the theme? Is that the theme of Bollywood movies? Is joy, happiness, not these sad dramas? What do I watch on TV? Some people ask that. Well, on streaming, I watch a lot of BritBox crime mystery movies. That's what I do. I got BritBox on my Amazon Prime. Okay, so don't have in. Well, I had that one question from Isaac about switchblades. If you don't ask me more questions real soon, then we'll just wrap this up in just a minute. If you are looking for gifts and stuff, something that I haven't mentioned for a knife guy, I am a huge fan of Wera screwdrivers. So if you can find Wera screwdrivers, they're really good. What's that store called? knivesofgermany.com? Is that what they're called? I don't have a discount code for them, but that's where I got these. If you're in the States, if you're in Canada, you might not want to buy from them because of the duty and stuff that you have to pay when it comes into the country. But Wera and Weha. Wera is a German company, although most of their tools are now made in Czech Republic, but really good quality, very high tolerances. So you're much less likely to strip out the screw heads, even on a T6 on a high quality screwdriver, than you would with a cheap screwdriver. So that's an idea. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, I just heard on my system that my wife's coming home. Can you have fixed blades in Canada? Yes, almost any fixed blades. Fixed blades are very easy to get in Canada. I think I'm going to be doing fixed blades as my main theme for next Friday's video. Starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So that would be noon Eastern Time. So I'll talk about fixed blades. Fixed blades are, yeah, super easy to get. There is some technical stuff about the odd type of fixed blade that might be illegal in Canada. Knife laws are kind of fuzzy, but for the most part, fixed blades, pretty much any kind of fixed blade is legal to own in Canada. There just might be some places where you can't carry, well, that's any knife. Like, the biggest city in Alberta has a law against carrying knives in public. So you can't even have a knife in your, a little guy like this in your pocket. But blades, yeah, we can have fixed blades. Do you have something in Triad? No, I don't have any Triad. I'm assuming you mean with the Triad lock, like from Cold Steel. if that's what you mean, no, I don't have any of those right now. And that's mostly because I have to sell most of the knives that I review. So I've only got a small number of knives right now. Well, small for me, for a channel that's talking about knives. I have probably about 50 knives in my possession right now. So I have had like over 300, but not that many. Okay, well, hey, there's still 82 of you around. Thank you so much for joining in. 10 of you hit the like button. If you like what I do, please hit the subscribe. I'm trying to get to 18,000 subscribers before the end of the calendar year. I'm sure I'm going to make it to my 5 million views, and that's thanks to you guys. I think the views for the live streams count against that too, so I appreciate that very much. Oh, and the number just popped up. Oh, and went back down. Yeah, because I'm just about headed out now. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife. She's off today. We're going to do some baking because on Sunday, all my kids and grandkids are coming over. We're doing a cookie decorating and gingerbread house assembly kind of party day. And we're going to have a great time doing that. So thanks so much to you guys for stopping by. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Have a good one. Bye for now.